All right, welcome back. If you just joined us, you're right on time. Just like Mikki said before, went on that break, you're in for, I think she said, captivating and interesting ride on Engendered today. Well, so it is because today we've been joined by a beautiful guest, spectacular one, okay? Because I love it when women come out to do things that ordinarily she wouldn't do. Well, like Mikki said, we're going to be talking very interestingly on some important discussion. But we'll be doing this not by ourselves alone. We'll be doing this by, her name is AnneDivine Oguche. Hello, Oguche.
Hello, Vicky.
Hello,
Mikki.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I'm very fine, and you?
I'm very great. You know, you took our mind to something, the very important highlight that is International Men's Day.
Men's Day, yes.
Yeah, and what's a good way to start the program, because it looking at the topic, which I feel to perhaps say to our audience, gender-based violence ahead of the 16-day activism on violence against women and girls. So we're highlighting the roles of boys and men, of course, what they play, the crucial role they play in the activities against gender-based violence. All right, before we continue, I'd like to read, you know, gender-based violence can take several forms.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, and I know it could range from mental abuse, sexual harm, dating violence. I don't know if you could take us through that.
Okay, so when we look at violence against women and girls, for the purpose of the topic we are looking at today, we could see this as abuse or violence, primarily attacked at women and girls, and some of these things could be domestic violence. And you know what domestic violence is? It could be when,
I don't know.
yeah, it could be, okay, for domestic violence, it could be when you are in a relationship with somebody and they are beating you. The man is beating the woman or beating his girlfriend, abusing physically and mentally. We have sexual violence, we have rape. Although men also experience rape, not only women, but we also know that most cases women take the majority in being victims of this violence. We have female genital mutilation. Although this is not really practiced again these days, but in, let's say, the past 50 years, this was a thing where they say women should be circumcised. And it wasn't good because it led to infection and a lot of medical
I'll have you know that it's still practice, but it's just like it's been
minimalized,
but it modernized too.
Oh, but it's really not something that is actually advisable and good. We also have forced marriages, and forced marriages is where you find some parts of the world making girls under 11 years getting married, 13 years, you know. And forced marriages, when they enter marriage at that tender age, they tend to get pregnant, and when they're about to give birth, they have problems like VVF, which could lead to a lot of complications. We also have like honor-based violence too, and this could also be like mentally affecting any woman or any girl, where you see where families tend to give their daughters out in marriage just to, you know, settle a contract or settle a community norm or settle a community belief. So those are like some gender-based violence that we can look at against women and girls.
Okay, let me read the statistics. In Nigeria, 9% of women aged 15 to 49 have suffered sexual assault at least once in their lifetime, and 31% have experienced physical violence. The incidence of gender-based violence is growing, with 1 in 3 Nigerian women having experienced physical violence by age 15. Come to think of it, when you see in a household, you either see one woman that has either, maybe she has been raped or close to being raped, or perhaps one woman being beaten, but yet you find out there's under-reportage. Okay, like there was a documentary we carried out at a time, went to Kaduna State, and we're talking about this gender-based violence, and it's like a discussion that police would say that they don't, even when they come to the police decks, okay, there's every tendency that they go back and say that no, it didn't happen. There's always this fear of reporting the case?
Yeah, most people fear stigma in most cases. Like personally, I've interacted with some people that I know have been sexually abused and sexually assaulted. And most times you find out that they don't want to come out and speak up because of the stigma. And most times you find out that some people make it even worse for them. You can't come out and speak up because they'll be telling you, where were you? Why did you go there? How were you dressed? You know, all those questions. You know, it's really not helpful. And it's not only having to experience the physical and sexual assault. Sometimes you find where girls go to look for jobs and they are being conditioned that, oh, before you get this job, you need to go down with somebody in authority. And you put them in a position where it's either they have to do this or they lose the job. That is also violence mentally to their health or to them. And it's also something we should look at as sexual assault. Even if you have not physically pounced on the person, but you have put a person in a position where naturally she's actually very good for that job, but then you are now conditioning her that she has to put her body on the line before she could get that. And then a lot of ladies are facing this. A lot of ladies have gone through rape cases, but they cannot speak up because of stigma, because of being discarded, because of not being recognized or not being heard. So it's actually something that is alarming, very, very alarming.
Okay, I know you've attributed the underreportage to stigmatization and perhaps maybe fear and the rest, but women are talkers. Women are talkers.
Well, true.
Yes, and I'm sure in a way that no matter how scared or dreading it could be, when a woman perhaps has gotten to that stage where maybe there's harassment in terms of sexual harassment and the rest, she could still confide in her mom or maybe someone,
a friend.
But why do you think the silence it's something else?
Well, sometimes we can say women are talkers, but you know, stigma is not really something people know how to deal with. You go out and everybody's like, oh, look at that girl, she was raped, you know. It's to just put you back into your shell. It's to make you go back.
But is that not a problem on itself?
Well, like, it's actually a problem.
Because when someone is a victim, then that person shouldn't be, perhaps the stigma should not be on that person. It should be on the perpetrator.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's supposed to be on the perpetrators, but then we find out that most cases people tend to blame the victims. That's why we now have platforms that could, you know, help victims to speak up, to fight these cases, to fight perpetrators, and also maybe report it to the appropriate authorities. But in most cases, you find a girl coming out to say, oh, I went somewhere and this person abused me, and they're like, what were you doing there? How did you dress? What did you wear? You understand? And most times people even just make fun of it, you know, make jokes about it, and are you sure you did not enjoy it? You understand?
Yeah, you know, I was watching a TED talk concerning what you're saying, not quite long, and exactly what you're saying. So I want to understand, where did we get it wrong? Because I don't understand why someone would be a victim and she's asked, why were you dressed in that way? Or what, to the extent, I think dating assault, it could not be even considered, because they'll say, why did you go there?
Exactly. Why? What were you doing there?
Yes.
You went to cook, you know. But at the end of the day, consent is consent. If I say no, I say no. If I say yes, I say yes. Let my no be no. They'll say, no, she said no, but maybe she meant yes. How did you say the no? Did you say the no like no, or did you say stop it, I like it? You know, you find a lot of people saying things like that, like, oh, how did you dress? What did you wear? Are you sure you didn't enjoy it? You know, are you sure you didn't put it back when you went out? You find a lot of, if you see cases on social media where you read the comment section, sometimes it's really like, so disheartening, you know.
I would think that since you know you're already in a bad position anyway, so I would say to any victim, you're already a victim. So what could be worse?
What could be worse?
Already, so if just speak up, because already, if your fear now is being stigmatized, How about the fear at the back end where you're going to be, like a lot of ladies are serially raped because probably the abuser is a senior uncle who came to, you know, he's living with you, he's going to be living with you for the next 2 years. Now you're saying, oh, if I speak up, I'm going to be stigmatized. If you don't speak up, you're going to be serially raped for years. For the period of that 2 years, you'll have no mercy upon you. You understand? So I think that in the first place, you should just take courage from the issue of AIDS. Okay, AIDS to me is the perfect example. When people started having AIDS, they were really covering up. They rather died, let it, you know, you'd have HIV and allow it to go into full-blown AIDS and kill you, rather than go to the hospital and speak up. But because of this kind of intervention, they started the the people living with AIDS groups, and they come out, you know, they come into groups, they come out on television. AIDS is really dropping just because of that. So it's the same way. If you're a victim, speak up. The worst that can happen to you is, like you said, is stigma. So look it in the face and say, oh, so I'm going to get stigmatized. Anything worse? Worse is happening to you at the back end because you're going to get raped again. Worse is happening to you at the back end. You could be beaten. Each time you're beaten, your immune system is going down. With each beating, you're halfway to your death. Which is worse.
True. Well, I think that the reason not stigmatization could be reason why many victims might not speak up, but I think it's the way in terms of post handling, how it's handled. Okay, exactly. you could speak up, yes, but at the end of the day, aside from them blaming you, then you find out that maybe that uncle, maybe that neighbor was not even, perhaps there was no kind of repercussion or whatever.
All that is changing now. Now the law is that not only is he going to be he's going to go down for it, but there also has to be some compensation for the victim.
Well,
that's why, because if those people who would go to court and then you know, maybe go to the police station, and then the next time he comes and say, oh, you know, it didn't happen and stuff, you just mess your own self
but you
up.
still find some because it's going to take me to my next question in terms of culture and yes, culture basically. So you find out that many homes and families will say, we'll handle it by ourselves.
Yes, that's another problem.
Okay,
so the family.
It's a
you know, you
problem.
find a case where a lady is abused by a family member, and you report to the family member, and they are covering up for the family member.
They say we'll handle ourselves.
Because they're like, no, he's your, what will people say? Another thing is fear.
He's a big deacon in the church, and he's a big important person.
No, don't, you know, they already dismiss it. Yeah, they dismiss your case and be like, if it's someone that is like in a place of authority, they'll say, oh, he's going to work it out with money, so don't even bother. If it's family, they are like covering it up that he's your uncle, he's your brother, he's your cousin. What will people say? Let's just cover up, don't worry, we'll handle it. Also fear, because those perpetrators actually threaten the victims. They could say, if you tell anybody, I'm going to kill you. If you tell your mom, I'm going to kill your mom, I'm going to kill your dad. So you find them just going back into their shell, and they don't want to talk about it with anyone. That could also be it, because that fear of being harmed could also be a very serious problem.
Okay, especially to younger victims.
Yeah, very young.
If you speak up, you're going to die.
So they just have to live with that burden. And you maybe find them talking about it 15 years later.
By which time they're so damaged.
Yeah, it's
traumatized.
Okay, so now let's go back to our topic. How can boys and men actively engage in the activism? Okay, because if you look back at all this now, and you still trace it back to the men, like most times they are the perpetrators. Most times they are the one having something to cover. The woman is seeing the children, the woman is seeing a process, while the man is mostly the superior and the woman the inferior. So then how engage actively? I know we have he for she's currently, and they're doing really right, and but hike of violence. The other day it was a video on social media of a lawyer almost beating his wife when she was saying, I'll report it to my father. He said, if you don't report me to your father, you're a bastard. Things like that. Educated ones still committing this act of gender-based violence.
First of all, I would like to say men need to have psychological cleansing and challenge this toxic masculinity they have. You know, most times men feel like, because I'm a man, I should be aggressive, I should be dominant. You know, they feel like being a man, how to exercise your authority is being aggressive, beating your wife, you know, showing that dominance in a violent way. We need to start by men cleansing themselves of such a mentality and changing the narratives from those cultural norms that, oh, this is how we're supposed to be, that as a man, for me to correct my wife, I need to beat my wife. No, it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to abuse your wife. You don't have to beat her.
As though the wife is a child.
You understand? You don't have to beat your wife. You don't have to. There are other ways you could correct your wife. There are so many, maybe silent treatment.
But silent treatment is also a torture. A form of torture.
It's
form
better.
Of abuse.
It's a form of abuse, but I feel
it's even worse. I think
personally,
I think it's worse.
All abuse is abuse.
Silence is worse. There's something like, I feel like someone is better for one to even beat me than to keep silent.
No.
Yes. No, in terms of my parents. Yes, in terms of my family. I prefer my dad to spank me.
Perhaps parental.
Yes. So it's time bound, because once you start, you know, maybe by the time you're going to secondary school, that shouldn't happen. So by the time you're an adult getting into marriage and every little thing slap.
No, I'm not talking about that. Okay.
I feel like as a man, you can correct your wife by withdrawing some privileges. Let's say you are giving her a certain amount of money as her allowance. You could just take out a little, let her know you're trying to correct her.
It's also torture in a way.
Yeah, it's abusive.
It's much better than laying your hands on your wife.
And that just shows you are not seeing your wife as your partner. Because I mean, if you were, what would the word correction come in there? So correction is for children. If you have an issue, you ought to discuss it like two. You know, like I said, adults. I don't like a situation whereby you leave these pots or whatever it is. You understand? It's not for you to it's not a matter of correction. It's maybe, a discussion. You understand? An interaction.
Not like you don't correct your partner.
You correct children. You don't correct partners.
If we are trying to...
And I would just want to ask, what happens when you... Because no human being is perfect. You are imperfect. When you now are... does correction come in for you? Should she slap you?
No,
should she beat you? No. Should she hit you? No. Should she kill you? So look at it that way. I mean, let's just go by this. Just do to others as you want them to do to you.
Well, I would say most times, if we are being realistic, we know that marriages and relationships suffer a lot of quarrels most times. There's how you are in a heated argument with your partner. You understand? At that moment, probably, and women, sometimes, some women don't know how to control their language. And you may push your husband in your words, in your choice of words that makes him feel disrespected. In that case, what will you expect him to do? To hit her or to walk away from that situation?
I'd rather you stay there and not hit me.
No, that's the thing. Sometimes you could be abusing your husband. You could be saying something that could let's also understand that men are human beings. You understand? They are also human beings. You could be saying some things that are really, really bad. You understand? You could be pushing him to the wall with your words. In that case, I would suggest that he should just walk away for the meantime than laying your hands on her or touching her or beating her. You understand? Just for that moment, just excuse yourself from that case, because most men now take it that, okay, as long as you're speaking to me like this, I'm going to hit you. It's not an excuse that, oh, your wife said this to you or your wife insulted you. It doesn't justify you beating her. But rather than doing that, I prefer you to just walk away. Just to control the situation.
I think Mikki disagrees.
No, for me, like I said,
so you should stand there and keep bantering with her.
I don't know. Let me say what I think. It all boils down to us seeing ourselves first and foremost as human beings. Forget I'm a woman. Forget I'm a man. You understand? So, like to put the shoes on the other table, because you're not perfect. You make mistakes as well. So, what happens when you, the man, are saying these horrible words to me? Look at. I mean, you call this cooking?
You're not fatter. You're listening
So what should I do? Would I jump on pants and slap and beat and strangle? So it's the same difference.
Should she also work away? When the man, some men will feel like disrespectful. Why are you walking away from me?
Boom, and here comes the blow. situation with the violent ones.
Well, if you stay, just pray that you just get someone that is good. Because if you stay, you may be punched. If you go, you may be punched. That's why men should not even punch.
Don't
even be violent.
Thank you.
I was just giving them an option. If
I don't think it should be considered, because we also have verbal assaults. Both from I think we should not get to that place whereby we begin to exchange words.
I know.
Okay, we could just talk things out.
Yes.
Just discuss them.
Absolutely.
I do not like this. I like this. This should go this way. And the rest.
Stupid.
Well, you are learning. Some people it's not like that.
Your mates have bought sheeps. Your mates have bought cows. I know it's so nasty and painful. But when you now slap, has that cured anything? When you now beat, has that cured anything?
When they beat, they will now buy gifts. And just to... And then you now find the woman staying and shining at it.
Because your immune system is going down.
Most times they will not.
1 year, 2 years, you're on your way to the grave.
Because he will buy your silence. You understand? He will just get you a Range Rover with a blue eye. You have a blue eye. You have a broken nose, but he has bought you something. You see women keeping quiet about it.
But I feel like it goes beyond that. Sometimes it could be out of love. And what would the society say when I leave my marriage?
Exactly.
Because not all family have
a society, not love.
Yes, you're hoping that he was not like that in the first place. He would change. This was how he was. You're hoping.
Women should stop deceiving themselves.
Absolutely.
Times. It's only God that can change somebody.
Absolutely.
If you see the red flag, move.
Absolutely.
Don't say you can change anybody. If you see something that you know you cannot tolerate when you enter marriage with somebody, just leave it. He is not for you. It's okay to accept that somebody is not for you. Just leave that space.
That's for relationship. How about
relationship and marriage? Well, when you enter marriage, that's the problem why some women die in marriages, because they'll be like, oh well, my children, if I leave, what will people say? They are now from a broken home. What will everybody say? It's their choice.
When you're dead in the grave, what will people be able to say anyway? Anyway, that's a very good point for us. Let's just take a quick break right here. This topic is really, really, really hot. So when we come back, we'll continue with our discussion, which is on gender-based violence against men, against women and girls, and the role men and boys should play in mitigating it. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
You're very welcome back. You're welcome. And it's still Engendered on Kaftan Television this beautiful Tuesday evening. And like I said, our guest here with us is Oguche Anne. You were saying just the time we went on a break that you want to actually highlight what the topic is, and that's the role men and boys will play in mitigating this issue of violence against gender-based violence generally.
So if we look at guys and men coming out to have organizations that could actually cope this violence against women and girls, like you see a protest where everybody is a man. And what they are holding is say no to sexual abuse, say no to domestic violence, say no to trafficking. You could understand the picture it would give to those men that are actually abusers. If men take up the responsibility and say, okay, we want to go out there on the streets and say no to this gender-based violence, it will go a very long way. Secondly, I feel in schools, they should start training children from a very young age to learn how to respect each other, to learn how to respect and treat a lady, especially the boys. And also in your home as a parent, parents also play a very vital role in shaping boys and men. So you start from when they are little and tell them, love your neighbor, love your sister, love your friend. And also as parents, you also show and lead by example. Because in most cases, if your son sees you beating your wife, he has the tendency to either grow up and beat his girlfriend or grow up and beat his wife, because he will see it as a normal thing. This is what my father used to do. So he will see it as it's something like right. So you need to start by cleansing your children from when they are growing up. You understand? And then we also need to protect our women, protect the victims. Men too, you see victims, protect them. Report perpetrators. Not because you see your friend, because he's your friend, you know your friend has done something, maybe sexually abused somebody, or is violating his girlfriend or his wife, and you decide to keep quiet because he's your friend. No. You take him to the authorities. If you advise him and he doesn't want to listen, you take him up to the authorities. You call for authorities to come and, you know, tackle the issue. Don't just keep quiet and say, oh, he's my friend. Also protect the victims. Report them. You understand? And you yourself, cleanse yourself and prevent anywhere you find yourself, you know, in a room where you feel you are going to get tempted to do anything. Take yourself out of there. Just abstain from all appearances of evil. Like so you don't so you don't just get yourself in a situation like, oh, had I known, you know, because sometimes if you also listen to people that sexually abuse people, they will say, oh, it was out of the influence of alcohol, or you find them acting like they regret. So if you know you will regret, take yourself out of that situation in the first place. Don't even go there. You understand?
What is the role that religious, you know, like religious organizations play? Because there's a lot of cover up there as well.
Yes, that's true.
We have incidences
you
where
pray about it.
Pray
pray about it. Pray for him. Forgive him.
And you see, these things are things that should be handled by trained relationship coaches and experts. But people just see their pastors as all in all and everything. He's not a trained relationship expert. He's not an expert at handling psychological problems of victims like that. So you don't need to make your first port of call the pastors. What do you think?
I feel like the first point should be authorities that actually handle this. Because most times when you take it religiously, they just put everything under prayers. You know, especially when it comes from religious leaders. I'm sorry to say this, but definitely religious leaders are also perpetrators in some cases, in most cases. So when you see a case where, oh, your pastor abused your child, and then you try to go and report to somebody a bit higher than your pastor, but still in that religious circle, they will just try to cover it up, highest compensate your family, but then the person, you still see the person preaching in church. You still see the person preaching in church. I have a friend that was abused by her pastor. And when she reported the case, they did not do anything about it. They did not do anything about it. She just had to leave for her mental health. She just had to leave. But you know, God in his infinite mercy has a way of always tackling issues. And later on, he also did it again. And this time it was reported to the right authorities, not church. And the man was dismissed from the church now because police were now involved. You understand? But in her own case, they did nothing about it.
She did nothing.
You understand? She reported to them, but they didn't do anything. They say, oh, he's a pastor, he's a senior pastor. Well, people say he still climbs the altar, the podium to preach to people.
And so, he said that was an enabler for him. That's why he felt so much at home to continue with other people, because he thought, look, you know,
it's my church, they will not do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
So
all right, I want to bring this to notice in terms of you know, you said parents have a role to play.
Yes, a very vital role.
And based on my research, I found out that women do not really talk about this. Mostly, although except it has maybe gotten to that stage where it is no longer hiding. Some women would even hide it and say, please don't say it. Don't tell anybody. Okay, we'll go and do a test. In as much you're not pregnant, it's fine. Okay, some mothers can be like that. No, I don't want your father's family people, especially in cases where maybe the brother of the father, the brother of the mother comes to stay in the house, and something like that happens, in which you will find out in most complaints, like you find out that perpetrators are usually siblings, cousins, nephews,
relations,
neighbors that stay around you. So what do you think women, mothers should do in this regard? Because it seems as though they, I don't know, maybe it's them.
Well, if you are a mother and your daughter reports to you, take it up. You should take it up immediately and fight for your child. You understand? You are the sole owner of your child. How can you birth a child and then your child tells you, I have been abused, and you want to cover it up because of some certain family norms or family embarrassment? What is more embarrassing and more traumatic than what has already happened to your daughter. So as a mother, I feel like you should take it up. And I know that most times daughters are not really free to speak to their mom.
Yes, I was going to go to that.
You understand? Sometimes, that's why as a mother, you should also try to make yourself available. That's why I personally thank God for the kind of parents I have, because there are people I can speak to mostly about anything. If I have that kind of situation, I know I can tell my mom, and my mom, she will take it up immediately. She doesn't even want to hear.
Because if you don't, you just made the person, you've just given him an enabler.
Yes, and
so
he will continue.
You went to report to mommy, who's my auntie. What did you think she's going to do? Come on, get back in the room. So you again, you know what I'm saying? So you just created an enabling environment.
Do not ever cover up evil.
No.
Do not cover up evil. And if you do, your child reports to you and you decide to die the matter, trust me, it's going to haunt you. It is going to haunt you in one way or the other. Is it that child will grow up hating you for life because you did not do anything to protect her?
At the time she was so vulnerable, and you were the only solution.
Yes, you didn't do anything.
Okay, let's look at those for the families that would rather settle it amongst themselves. I know sometimes maybe it could be like a better alternative rather than putting their linen in the public, the dirty linen in the public, as they say in quotes. So do you think maybe should be really considered as an alternative rather than taking to police or the like?
Do not cover it up. Okay, if you don't want to put it out in the public, jail him silently. Jail him and don't let anybody know.
Don't go to the press.
Don't go to the press. Just I'm reporting this case. Let him face the punishment he is supposed to face for that crime. Because the more we keep covering it up with the name of family, the more that guy is going to go out and keep raping people. The more that guy is going to go out and keep doing whatever evil. You understand? Your family, or you're in a home where they are violating your rights, and then you want to cover it up because it's my cousin, my father's grandfather. No. Report him.
You're enabling him.
Report him. If you don't want it out there in the public, fine. Report him and tell the police. Please jail him, punish him, but be quiet about it. But then report it. Do not cover up as a mother, as a father, or as a sister or brother. Do not cover up for you.
Absolutely, I agree with you 1,000%. Any cover up is an enablement.
Don't.
Okay, so let's talk about, earlier you were painting a picture about and it seemed like maybe a fairy tale where men are on the street holding placards saying no to gender-based violence.
It can happen.
I'm going to say, do you think it's really feasible? Because in this time that we are, although we're not yet where we used to be, okay, because we see men propagating or activating against gender-based violence and all sort of domestic violence. But do you really see, in terms of, because when you look at masculinity, the toxic masculinity in the homes, it just seems as though no matter how, we cannot, like, that cannot be erased. The man will always say, I am the man, I am the head of this house, and there are certain benefits attached to it, that I say you sit down there and you sit down.
No, I disagree.
That's what I'm saying. To men, being a man doesn't mean you must be aggressive. Being a man doesn't mean that you should be toxic. Being a man doesn't mean that you should show dominance by violence. That does not make you a man. That even makes you less of a man.
I agree. Because by the time you have to say, I am the man here, you just wrecked everything.
You are not the man anymore.
Absolutely.
You are not.
When I go, I am the woman, I am the, what's that about? So you just wrecked everything. You don't, even in an office setting, you don't come in and say, oh, I am the boss here, I am the head of, no, you
your
just wrecked everything.
Should, you know,
yes.
You should draw respect by how you act, not by being, you know, and God bless social media now, because social media is even easy that anything that happens, you see people put it out there for people to, you know, draw. And I think there are some men that actually, you know, go for this activism against these things in their own, you know, sectors and with their audience. So if you're a man, anywhere you are that you know you could help, if you have a platform that you could help and talk about these things, then do. Also talk to your men. Men, you don't have to be abusive to be a man. Being abusive doesn't make you a man. That doesn't make you a man. You should be a man that cares for your woman, cares for your family, you know, teach your family, train your children well, be an example. Not beating your wife, hitting your wife, slapping your... my dear, you are not a man. You are acting like an animal and you belong in the zoo. That's just where you belong.
That's serious.
You belong in the zoo if that's how you act. Even if you're abusive with words, you belong in the zoo.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah. Okay, so you said something about social media. Thank God, with the help of social media, we see so many of these things uncovered.
Yeah.
But yet, it's not ending, like it continues.
Yeah.
So,
evil can never end. Most times, you find out that it's either it just keeps coming in different forms, but I believe if everybody can just sensitize themselves, cleanse themselves, and make a conscious decision that I'm a man, I will never traffic any human, I will never beat my wife or my girlfriend, I will never sexually abuse anybody, I will never be found in any form of violence. It just change starts with one person, and change starts with you. By the time everybody decides consciously that, oh, I will not do this, then I feel like it would be better to reach out to everybody. And then if men that are violating people hear it from their own fellow men that they shouldn't do this, I believe that it will go a long way. Not just women talking about gender-based violence. Let men to also go out there on their platforms and say, men, I'm talking to you, man to man. If you beat a woman, you are an animal. You understand? A man will feel, his ego will just, it's a man that's speaking to me. It may go a long way. I know there are some people that still operate like they don't have a conscience, but I believe that if a man also comes out and speaks the same way women are advocating, it will go, let men be the allies, and let men also advocate for these things in any platform that they have. You understand? By the time you find that, even fathers in your homes, talk about it. Talk about it to your children, talk about it to your sons. Do not ever lay your hands on a woman. You understand? Do not fight. Do not, when you start that training, and then you also lead by example, not just talks. Not that you're telling your child, don't beat a woman, and he's seeing you punching his mom. You just be like, what's this? You understand? So it starts from you. That change should start from every individual. And if everybody says, I will not go the wrong path, then it will go a very, very, very long way.
Absolutely.
A very long way.
Well, we must commend, let me just say, we must commend that he for she movement, because it's really been impactful. I've seen them where they were, but the topic then was not gender-based violence, it was about political inclusion. And they were very vocal. They said they didn't like a situation whereby, all the political space is all occupied by the men, because that's what we have now. And then by the time women say, oh, you have women leader. Women leader is just a cover-up. So, okay, look at it now. If you're a man, you're the leader of men and women. Women leaders, leader of women. So already you've just put me in a little box. You understand? So the men were very vocal that he for she movement. So if they're really doing great. I think it's very commendable, and if we could have such in this kind of space as well for gender-based violence,
of course it would. Like in Akwa Ibom State, we have something called FAREP, where they handle cases of anything abuse. You understand? And even our organization, Young Women, so we actually speak to victims, and when we see cases like that, try to report it to the authorities and follow it up.
They follow it up to the last.
Follow it up to the last.
We also have NATIP doing a very great job.
And also, authorities should stop frustrating the efforts of victims. How can a victim come to report a rape case and you're telling the person to pay money? That's also frustrating. The victim can be somebody that doesn't have a penny, or has come to report, and you're telling her that she has to file a case, and she has to file it with a certain amount of money, and she doesn't have the money. She has to go back and bear that trauma. So that's why we need more organizations and advocates that could pick up this case. If really it is funds that should solve this, that they could also sponsor these victims in fighting for justice. Fighting for justice, honestly, because that was another concern.
Okay, another concern is, I was speaking with someone, and she said the reason why she would rather not discuss her rape experience with anybody is because when people get to know she was raped, especially men, they would not want to marry her because this one, she has been raped before.
that stigma too.
That stigma too. So I don't know, before we go, because we are out of time, or do we still have some minutes, maybe you speak to that in that line, like,
well, men rejecting women because they have been raped. Don't forget, this life, it could be your sister, it could be your friend, it could be your daughter. You understand? I don't think somebody being raped should be a criteria that you say you don't want to end up with this person. That's very unfair.
But let's not forget that people, except they go for therapy, all right, there's every likelihood that they exhibit some kind of
hostility towards men too.
Exactly.
True.
So some men would say, use that as a defense, like, I cannot deal with this. Understand? Imagine asking your wife for sex constantly, but she's saying no because of what she has gone through.
Then victims too,
fear of men too,
also need to be sensitized and brought together and given a safe space, comfort, where they could talk about this and talk about their experience and know that they are not alone, and know that it's not the end of the world, and know that they can still live a normal life like a human being, and should not be because of that you now say you don't want to marry, you don't want to have a happy home. You deserve to marry, you deserve to be happy. Because you have been raped doesn't make you less of a human being. Because you have been abused or violated, you are still a human being 100%, and you also deserve happiness. So don't box up yourself and say, oh, I cannot be happy, all men are evil, men are this, men. No.
And another
trust me,
thing,
we have good men out there.
Yeah, secrecy doesn't pay. Like,
no, at all.
That lady saying, oh, I don't want to tell anybody so that people won't marry me, she's going to discover it's the exact opposite. Because I actually know a situation, you know, this lady was serially raped by her senior sister's husband. She was living with them, and then, you know, when she found the courage to speak out, you know, that was so liberating. But it happened over so many years. She was highly traumatized. And then when she met somebody she was going to get married to, she opened up to him. And she said, could I just have this like a moratorium so that when we get married for 3 months, no, and he accepted. And, you know, she was always going for counseling, you know, now you're married. After 3, they have 2 children today.
Yeah, you could also be happy. You deserve happiness. And trust me, don't just box out your... There are good men out there. There are good men out there that will not hurt you. There are very good men out there.
But we get to that place whereby, as a mother with young children, we are like so careful to the extent you say, I do not want relatives in my house, especially male, for now, until my children are of age. Do we advocate that?
I think that would be a very good idea, because, like I said, in the Bible, abstain from all appearances of evil. Do not bring somebody that will be a temptation, or will be like, you will not be saying, had I known, I shouldn't have. You understand? If you need a maid, probably bring a female that you know is young and you could handle. You understand?
A female, but there's a husband in the house.
Well, I'll say that one is a story for another day. You know, violence it's not only rape. We also have domestic violence. Also, we also have where girls, women, maids that are brought abuse children. There are still guys that have been abused by maids too. So actually it's 2 ways. We have young boys that have been abused by maids. Most times if you talk about guys and ask them about their first experience, they will tell you it was one maid that was in our house. So it's actually something that needs to be looked at, because both ways. You bring a male, he could abuse your child. You bring a female, she could abuse your child. Or you bring a female, she could domestically abuse your child. I've seen a video where there was a camera and this maid threw the baby by the leg.
Well, it's actually an unending discussion.
Honestly.
Something we'll keep going on and on about. Thank you so much, Oguche AnneDivine.
My pleasure.
It's been
You're
a
welcome.
wonderful time with you. All right, viewers, this is the much we can take on this episode of Engendered. Thanks again for staying with us. Until next time, I am your host, Victoria Agbi-Idoko.
And I'm Mikki, Attah. Thank you very much for being there. Let's try and create safe spaces and make this place free and from all forms of gender-based violence against women and girls. Thank you very much.
All right, bye.
Bye.